You've seen the title, and a bunch of you have been asking for this video, so here it is. Even if you don't know much about special forces, you've probably heard of these guys in one way or another. You don't need to go full conspiracy theory deep dive to figure out who they are. There are movies, TV shows, video games, and YouTube videos practically throwing them at you. But if you're still a bit lost and want to really understand, you're in the right place. Sure, you could have clicked on 100 other videos about this, but you didn't. You're here. So in this video, I'm going to explain everything. Well, everything that isn't classified. The American Special Forces are often seen as the best in the world. Now, before the British mob comes storming in, pitchfork in one hand and a cup of tea in the other, let me clear something up. I'm not saying Americans can run faster or fight harder than the British, French, German, Australian, Indian, or anyone else. What I am saying is that the US government and military have what I like to call the fuck you money.
Yes. And lots of money. Play.
They have gear, resources, and technologies other militaries would sell their souls for. And honestly, even then, they probably still couldn't afford it. Before we get started, I just want to say something I've mentioned in a few of my other videos. I'm not an expert. I do my best to gather verified information, but sometimes I might get something wrong or say something that's outdated. And yeah, it's happened before. So if you notice anything that's off, feel free to drop a comment with the correct info so others can see it too. I hope I don't mess up, but I'd rather be upfront and admit that I'm not some all-knowing guy with secret inside knowledge about American or other nations' special forces. All right, let's get into it. Well, I can't say for sure that it was the Americans who first started giving their units tier-based numbers, but they definitely popularized it. Now, what exactly is a tier system, and why do we so often hear terms like Tier 1 or Tier 2 when talking about military units? Is the tier system official? No, sir. The tier system is more of an unsaid, unwritten way of loosely categorizing military units. In fact, you'll hardly ever hear these terms being used publicly, even by the very units considered Tier 1. A lot of people think a Tier 1 unit is automatically better than a Tier 2 unit, like there's some kind of video game ranking system at play. But that's not completely true. Each unit has its own very specific mission set and area of expertise. That's why you'll often hear this phrase, every American Special Forces unit is the best at what they do. And that's exactly how you should look at it. So really, this whole tier thing is just an informal, intuitive way of classifying units. Got that? Do you understand? I've used every word I could muster to explain that the tier system isn't nearly as important as people make it out to be when it comes to judging these units. So please, please, don't go acting immature in the comments. But for your entertainment and my satisfaction, I'm going to ignore what I just said. Here's the basic structure of how the tier system works in the American military. Tier 4 units. These are your standard conventional military units. They make up the majority of the force, the bread and butter of the military. Tier 3 units. Still conventional military units, but with more specialized roles and extra training. For example, the airborne units, such as the 101st and 82nd Airborne Divisions. There's also the 10th Mountain Division, which specializes in high-altitude mountain warfare. Tier 2 units. Now, these are officially the Special Forces. Well, technically, Special Operations Forces is the right term because in the American military, Special Forces refers to one specific unit. Anyway, back to the topic. They're trained to conduct all kinds of special operations, hostage rescue, reconnaissance, direct action, and more. They receive better equipment, better funding, and better training than any conventional unit in the military. These people are the best at what they do, and they're considered among the best in the world. Most militaries stop here. For them, these are their Tier 1 units. But we're not talking about other militaries. We are talking about the United States of please don't touch our boats, America.
United States, I don't like that look in your eye. I touched my boats!
Tier 1 units. Now, these are the cream of all special operations conducted by the United States. These units are prioritized for the most high-value missions, operations of immense strategic and military importance that are often never made public. For those who don't know, this is also why America's nuclear submarines are considered Tier 1 assets. Only a handful of military units hold that level of significance. Now you have a basic idea of how each tier works in the American military. But we're far from done. In this video, you'll be introduced to all the Special Forces units in the United States, both Tier 1 and Tier 2. I'll also explain a bit about their theaters of operation and how these forces are divided across different regions of the world. So sit tight and enjoy, because this is going to be a long one. The United States Special Forces isn't just Navy SEALs or Delta Force. It's far more extensive and highly structured. There are many special units you may or may not have heard of. And to truly understand this entire ecosystem, we first need to understand how American Special Forces actually operate. United States Special Operations are conducted by the United States Special Operations Command, commonly known as US SOCOM, or simply SOCOM. This is the unified command responsible for overseeing the various Special Operations component commands of the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force. SOCOM operates under the Department of Defense, or the Department of War, if you're not living under a rock. The idea of creating a unified American Special Operations Command was born after Operation Eagle Claw, the disastrous attempted rescue of hostages at the U.S. Embassy in Iran in 1980. The failure of that mission pushed the Department of Defense to reform and reorganize its special operations structure. As a result, the command we know today as US SOCOM was officially established in 1987. US SOCOM oversees the special operations components of every branch of the US military. Each branch has its own special operations command capable of running independent missions. These include the United States Army Special Operations Command, United States Marine Forces Special Operations Command, United States Naval Special Warfare Command, and United States Air Force Special Operations Command. In addition, there's the Joint Special Operations Command, a joint component command responsible for conducting some of the most sensitive and high-priority special operations using various special mission units. The U.S. military operates more than 750 military installations across over 80 countries, making it the largest military network in the world. Because of this vast presence across different regions, the United States has established several military commands for each part of the globe. These are known as Geographic Combatant Commands, or theater commands. Each command is responsible for overseeing military operations and movements within its designated theater. Now, you might be wondering why I'm talking about these American theater commands when this video is about special forces. Well, keep watching. It will all make sense and become very relevant later in the video. Now, there are a total of 11 unified combatant commands, and 6 of those are theater commands. These are Africa Command, Central Command, European Command, Indo-Pacific Command, Northern Command, and Southern Command. Each of these commands is responsible for overseeing military operations within its particular region. Each of these geographic commands oversees every military component operating in its specific region, and of course, that includes special operations. For this purpose, each command has a dedicated subcommand responsible for special operations in that region. These subcommands are Special Operations Command, Africa, Special Operations Command Central, Special Operations Command Europe, Special Operations Command North, and Special Operations Command South. Under the Indo-Pacific Command, there are 2 Special Operations Commands, Special Operations Command Pacific and Special Operations Command Korea. These Special Operations Commands are an integral part of every geographic command. While they report operationally to their respective theater commands for missions in the region, they are administratively controlled by SOCOM, which provides their funding, training, doctrine, and overall strategic oversight. Now, let's finally look at the actual Special Forces units of the United States of America. All right, now we can finally talk about the Special Forces units of each branch of the armed forces. But if you think I'm going to start with units like Delta Force or the Navy SEALs, you're wrong. Of course, we'll save the Tier 1 units for last, because I think it is important to talk about the other Special Forces units that don't get as much attention before we look at those units that are the most talked about. And which branch doesn't get enough spotlight? Of course, it's the United States Air Force. When it comes to the special operations capabilities of the United States, the focus is usually on the Army and the Navy. And while that's partly true, the special forces of the Air Force are no joke. You might have heard that the U.S. Air Force is treated more like a corporation than a military establishment. But don't let those harmless internet videos fool you. The US Air Force is the best and most lethal air power in the world when it comes to air superiority. And its special forces units, they're some of the most well-trained and capable in the entire armed forces. Under the Air Force, special operations are conducted by the Air Force Special Operations Command, or FSOC, which is responsible for carrying out a wide range of specialized missions. There are 4 primary specialty components under the Air Force Special Warfare Doctrine: Combat Controllers, CCT, Tactical Air Control Party, TAP-P, Special Reconnaissance, SR, and Pararescuemen, PJ. They are a vital and integral part of the Air Force's special operations capability. It's important to understand that these are not standalone units. Rather, these specialists are assigned to various different units to support and execute special operations. Now, let's break down these components one by one. Combat Controllers, or CCTs, are ground combat specialists with a focus on guiding aircraft and coordinating air support. Think of them as elite air traffic controllers who make sure air and ground forces work together perfectly, even in dangerous or covert operations. Many are trained as JTACs, meaning they can call in and direct airstrikes. They're also skilled in combat freefall and underwater operations. On top of that, they're FAA-certified air traffic controllers and have to keep that skill sharp throughout their careers. Training is intense, almost 2 years long, and more than 90% of candidates don't make it. Combat controllers usually deploy alone or in small teams to support other special operations units. Tactical Air Control Party, or TAP-P, teams are the air support experts on the ground. They conduct prescient strikes onto targets with the help of various combat aircrafts, guided missiles, artillery, and naval fire onto targets with precision. Like combat controllers, they're trained as JTACs and often embed with other special operations units, including Air Force Special Tactics, Army Special Forces, and Navy SEALs. Their main job is to keep communications running smoothly and make sure the airstrikes hit exactly where they're needed. So for those who still might be a bit confused, at first glance, it can look like TACPs and CCTs do pretty much the same thing. After all, both can call in airstrikes, but here's the simple difference. TACPs specialize in precision terminal attack control and guiding those strikes onto the target, while CCTs, on the other hand, are air controllers on crack. Now let's talk about Special Reconnaissance. Special Reconnaissance, or SR, is one of the Air Force's key special operations components. These operators work deep behind enemy lines to covertly direct air and missile strikes, deploy and monitor remote sensors, and support other special operations units. They specialize in long-range interdiction, surveillance, and intelligence gathering. A unique part of their mission is assessing and interpreting weather and environmental intelligence from forward-deployed positions, a legacy from when they were formerly known as Special Operations Weather Technicians. Like other special operations units, SR operators can also carry out direct action and unconventional warfare, including guerrilla operations. SR selection and training has one of the highest attrition rates in U.S. Special Operations Forces at around 93%. Now let's talk about my favorite component in Air Force Special Warfare. Pararescuemen, also known as Pararescue Jumpers or PJs, are elite Air Force special operators responsible for personnel recovery and combat search and rescue missions, along with a variety of other specialized operations for the U.S. military. Their primary role is personnel recovery, combined with advanced emergency trauma medical capabilities, both in humanitarian missions and in combat environments. Personnel recovery involves rescuing and treating injured or stranded personnel in hostile or remote areas, whether that's behind enemy lines or deep in the wilderness. PJs are often attached to other special operations units from all branches to support missions as needed. They've even supported NASA, recovering astronauts after water landings. The process of becoming a PJ is informally known as Superman School. At nearly 2 years long, their training pipeline is one of the toughest and longest in the entire special operations community, and it has one of the highest attrition rates. These people are no joke. Other than these 4 major fields, there's one more that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Special Operations Surgical Teams, or SOSTs, are rapidly deployable medical and tactical units trained to provide both trauma and life-saving surgical care on the battlefield. They bridge the gap between frontline combat and conventional medical care, bringing advanced treatment directly to where it's needed most. Equipped with specialized surgical and critical care gear, SOSTs can be fully operational within minutes of arrival. They are highly mobile and far more compact than other traditional medical assets. These special operations medical professionals are specifically designed to support the full spectrum of U.S. Special Operations Command missions, even in the most challenging and hostile environments. SOSTs are made up of emergency physicians, surgeons, critical care nurses, respiratory therapists, and other specialists. Every member undergoes a rigorous selection process and brings years of professional experience to the team. SOSTs operate under the 24th Special Operations Wing, but can be attached to other special operations units for medical support. They stand ready to deliver critical, life-saving care wherever the mission takes them, quietly proving their unmatched skill, speed, and resilience. Now you understand the Special Operations Forces of the Air Force, but you might be wondering, doesn't the Air Force have its own established units instead of just embedding operators in other groups from other branches? Well, it does. The Air Force has many units under Air Force Special Operations Command that handle a wide range of missions, from aviation operations to ground operations. These include 1st Special Operations Wing, 24th Special Operations Wing, 27th Special Operations Wing, 352nd Special Operations Wing, 353rd Special Operations Wing, 492nd Special Operations Wing. There are also reserve units such as the 919th Special Operations Wing. Each Special Operations Wing is made up of various Special Operations Squadrons. These squadrons are trained to operate different types of aircraft, gunships, and drones for a variety of missions. Many wings also have Special Tactics Squadrons that focus primarily on ground operations. I don't want to make this video as long as the Lord of the Rings movies, so I won't go into every wing in detail, but let me know if you want a dedicated video exploring all of them. Before we move on, let's talk a little more about the Special Tactics Squadrons, or STS. These are elite ground combat forces that integrate air and ground special operations. And yes, the 4 specialty components I mentioned earlier, these squadrons have them too. Operators from STS are often assigned to work with various special operations units. There are several squadrons spread across different wings. Under the 24th Special Operations Wing, though keep in mind, as of May 16, 2025, the wing was furled, meaning it was inactivated. I don't completely know what that means, but I am assuming the units under this wing now report directly to AFSOC. You have the 17th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 26th Special Tactics Squadrons. Then there's the 321st Special Tactics Squadron under the 352nd Special Operations Wing and the 320th Special Tactics Squadron under the 353rd Special Operations Wing. STS units also exist under the Air National Guard. There's one squadron we'll save for later. This unit is unique. It's the only STS assigned to the Joint Special Operations Command, handling the most covert and high-risk missions. It's the Air Force's premier and only Tier 1 unit, and we'll get into them when we talk more about JSOC. Now let's talk about the Marines. The U.S. Marine Corps has always had a unique relationship with the concept of special operations. Unlike other branches, Marine leadership never felt the need to create a dedicated special operations unit of its own. Their reasoning was simple. They believed the entire Corps was already special, and honestly, that's not far from the truth. Marines are some of the most highly trained and versatile warriors out there, able to adapt, improvise, and accomplish missions with minimal resources. They have a long and proud history of conducting amphibious raids, reconnaissance, unconventional warfare, and other high-risk operations. But while every other branch established its Special Operations Command under SOCOM, the Marines took their time. It wasn't until 2005 that the Marine Corps Forces Special Operations Command, or MARSOC, was finally formed, making it the youngest special operations component under SOCOM. I won't go too deep in this video on why the Marines took their sweet time creating MARSOC, because honestly, that would make a great topic for another video. For now, we'll focus only on the Special Forces component of the Marine Corps. Under MARSOC, there's the Marine Raider Regiment, formerly known as the Marine Special Operations Regiment. Renamed in honor of its legendary World War II predecessors, the Marine Raiders, This regiment serves as the principal combat element of MARSOC, which itself is the Marine Corps' contribution to the United States Special Operations Command. Their mission set includes direct action, special reconnaissance, counterterrorism, counterinsurgency, and information operations. They're also trained to conduct foreign, internal defense, and unconventional warfare. The best way to describe Marine Raiders is that they're a blend of the Army Special Forces and the Navy SEALs, combining the strategic finesse of one with the aggressive, amphibious strike capability of the other. Becoming a Raider, however, isn't easy. You can't just enlist in the Marine Corps and try out right away. In fact, there's no guarantee for anyone who joins the Marines to ever wear the Raider badge. MARSOC is unique in the special operations world because only active duty Marines who've already served in the fleet are eligible to apply. It's not like the Navy SEALs, where you can go straight into BUDS after enlistment. The first hurdle is assessment and selection, or ANS, the grueling selection phase that determines who moves forward. Those who pass enter the Individual Training Course, or ITC, a 9-month program designed to forge them into special operators. During ITC, candidates master a wide range of skills essential for special operations: navigation, patrolling, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, tactical combat casualty care, mission planning, fire support coordination, and advanced communications. They also train extensively in small boat operations, scout swimmer tactics, close quarters battle, and irregular warfare. Those who make it through join one of the Marine Raider battalions. The Marine Raider Regiment is composed of a headquarters company and 3 Raider battalions. Each battalion consists of several Marine Special Operations companies, and each company is made up of 4 Marine Special Operations teams, each team consisting of 14 elite operators. Other than the Marine Raiders under MARSOC, there are also key support elements that keep the entire command running at full strength. One of them is the Marine Raider Support Group. This unit provides critical operational logistics, intelligence, multi-purpose K9 teams, fire support coordination, and advanced communications capabilities. Their role is to sustain and enable Marine Special Operations missions around the world. Then there's the Marine Raider Training Center. This is where future Raiders are forged. The center is responsible for assessing and selecting Marines for assignment to MARSOC, and for providing the specialized training required to turn them into elite operators. But unlike the Army, Navy, and Air Force, the Marine Corps doesn't have any unit assigned to the Joint Special Operations Command. Even though we're done talking about the Marines, I'd probably get a lot of hate if I didn't mention this particular unit. One of the key reasons the Marine Corps was reluctant to create a Special Operations unit under SOCOM, once a unit falls under any branch's Special Operations Command, operational control shifts to SOCOM. Administratively, they remain with their branch, but when it comes to real missions and deployments, they answer to SOCOM. The Marine Corps didn't want to lose direct control over its special mission assets. The Corps already has several elite units like Anglico, SRT, and FAST, among others. But there's one group that stands out above the rest. Introducing the United States Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance, better known as Force Recon. Now, Force Recon isn't under MARSOC, which means they're not under SOCOM, which means technically they're not classified as special forces. So they're just a regular unit like any other, right? Yeah, don't make that mistake. Force Recon is a battle-hardened, special operations-capable unit with a legendary reputation. In fact, they're the ones who laid the foundation for Marine Raiders in the first place. When MARSOC was formed, a large number of its first operators came straight from Force Recon. So Force Recon, if the name didn't give it away, specializes in amphibious reconnaissance, deep ground reconnaissance, and surveillance. But make no mistake, they're also fully capable of conducting direct action operations. Broadly speaking, their responsibilities fall into 2 operational mission sets: reconnaissance and direct action. Joining Force Recon is no easy feat. Force Recon doesn't train civilians. You must already be a Marine, ideally with a strong reputation and excellent physical performance before even being considered. Force Recon is far from a standard unit. When needed, they also work alongside other special operations units. They are one of the most highly trained, capable, and respected groups in the Marine Corps. But here's the not-so-fun part about Force Recon. It's not that they do the same thing as special forces. It's that their opportunities to put those skills to use are extremely limited. Because they're not part of SOCOM, they rarely get to take on the high-profile, high-risk missions that define special operations. After all, that's where the funding is. That's where the real special operations happen. Instead, Force Recon is largely restricted to conventional military operations, most of which aren't in high demand these days. So, yes, I wanted to highlight Force Recon, but I also didn't want to give them a false identity. They're elite, capable, and respected, but their world is a bit different from the special forces under SOCOM. Now, let's talk about the Navy, shall we? The United States Navy has a long and proud history in special operations. Today, it stands out with an unmatched maritime focus and a unique range of special operations capabilities. When it comes to Navy special operations, there are actually two components. One is naval special warfare, and the other is Navy special operations. Naval Special Warfare falls under the Naval Special Warfare Command, which operates under SOCOM and is considered the Navy's actual special forces component. But there are also other elements within the Navy that may not come under SOCOM yet, are still part of the broader special operations community. So before we talk about the actual naval special forces under SOCOM, let's talk about them first. First up are the Navy divers. Navy divers serve with fleet diving detachments as well as in research and development units. Their missions include marine salvage, harbor clearance, submarine rescue, saturation and experimental diving, and even underwater construction and welding. They also provide crucial technical support to special operations units during underwater missions. Navy is the lead agency for military diving technology and training within the Department of Defense. At the core of this capability is the Navy Diver Rating for enlisted personnel who specialize in diving as their primary occupation. Now, they aren't part of the Special Forces. Their role is primarily special operations support, and their missions don't usually involve direct combat. But make no mistake, what they do is extremely demanding. They operate in some of the harshest underwater environments, performing complex and dangerous tasks. Being a Navy diver is as cool as it is tough. Now take those Navy divers and train them to handle explosives. You get the Navy's version of the bomb squad, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, or EOD. Every service has EOD techs, but Navy EOD is often treated as a step above because of the maritime and harsh environments they face. U.S. Navy EOD technicians locate, identify, and neutralize explosive threats on land, at sea, and underwater. That includes everything from improvised explosive devices, IEDs, to sea mines, torpedoes, old unexploded ordnance, and even chemical, biological, or nuclear threats. When safe disposal isn't possible, they remove hazards through controlled detonations or render safe procedures. EOD teams routinely deploy with combatant commanders, special operations forces, and conventional units across the Navy, Marine Corps, Army, and Air Force. They operate in every environment imaginable: diving beneath the waves, parachuting into hostile territory, fast roping from helicopters, boarding ships from small boats, or moving by tracked vehicles. Their mobility and versatility are a core part of the job. The training pipeline is brutal and comprehensive. It starts with intense physical conditioning and swim training, then moves into advanced dive instruction and core EOD coursework, demolition, tools and techniques, ordnance identification in ground, air, and underwater, and countering biochemical threats. Graduates then complete airborne training and tactical instruction, helicopter insertion, small unit tactics, weapons handling, and combat first aid. And even after joining EOD units, they continue advanced, on-the-job training to be ready in any situation in any given moment. Next up are the Navy Aviation Rescue Swimmers. These are elite naval air crewmen trained to respond to emergencies in some of the harshest environments imaginable. Their job goes far beyond pulling people out of the water. Rescue swimmers are deployed to conduct life-saving operations anywhere: sea, air, or land. One day, they might be evacuating families during a catastrophic storm on the other side of the world. The next, they might be rescuing a ship's crew off the Pacific coast. Navy rescue swimmers fall into two specific roles: Naval Air Crewman Helicopter, AWS, and Naval Air Crewman Tactical Helicopter, AWR. AWS personnel operate aircraft systems in a variety of mission profiles, including surface warfare, search and rescue, combat search and rescue, naval special warfare support, airborne mine countermeasures, and logistics missions. AWR personnel focus on anti-submarine warfare, reconnaissance and intelligence gathering, anti-surface ship missions, search and rescue, combat search and rescue, and providing fire support to naval special warfare elements. Aviation rescue swimmers must be ready to operate in any condition, anywhere in the world. That's why their training pipeline is intense, covering nearly 2 years of advanced swimming and life-saving techniques, helicopter mission equipment, and weapons systems. By the time they graduate, they are among the most capable helicopter rescue operators in the world. All of these Navy components are special, yes. But now let's talk about an actual special operations element. You're probably thinking, oh, here it comes, the Navy SEALs. No, not yet. This next unit isn't even under the Naval Special Warfare Command. To explain this, we actually need to go back to the Marine Corps. You see, the Marine Corps doesn't have its own medics. Since they fall under the Department of the Navy, they rely on Navy personnel for medical support. These medical personnel are called hospital corpsmen, or simply corpsmen. Their job is to provide medical support to Marines. Within the corpsman community, there's a very special group, the Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsmen, or Navy SARC. They are the Special Operations Combat Medics of the Navy. SARCs primarily work with Marine Recon and MARSOC raiders, but since they're part of the Navy, they also support Navy SEAL teams when needed. While regular hospital corpsmen are technically considered non-combatants under the Geneva Conventions, SARCs are different. They are classified as combatants. And like many elite units we've talked about, becoming a SARC is nowhere near easy. The pipeline is over 2 years long, combining advanced medical training with courses like the Basic Reconnaissance Course, combat diving, airborne training, survival, evasion, resistance and escape, and others. Now let's talk about the juicy part. The United States Naval Special Warfare Command, or NSWC, often called WARCOM, is the naval component of the United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM. Its roots trace back to the unconventional naval units formed during World War II, but WARCOM itself was officially established in 1987. Today, under SOCOM, it consists of two primary components, the Navy SEALs and the Navy SWCS. The United States Navy Sea, Air, and Land teams, commonly known as the Navy SEALs, are the Navy's premier special operations force and a key component of the United States Naval Special Warfare Command. Honestly, they don't need much of an introduction. The Navy SEALs are arguably the most famous special forces unit in the world, recognized far beyond America's borders. To put it simply, SEALs are hand-selected, highly trained operators skilled in various things, such as unconventional warfare, direct action, special reconnaissance, counterterrorism, sabotage, demolition, intelligence gathering, and any special mission they are ordered to conduct. They can operate anywhere, on the sea, in the air, or on land. That's what their name stands for, remember? However, as a naval unit, SEALs excel in maritime operations. The modern SEALs trace their lineage back to World War II, when the U.S. military recognized the need for covert reconnaissance of landing beaches and coastal defenses. This led to the creation of the Amphibious Scout and Raider School in 1942 at Fort Pierce, Florida. The Scouts and Raiders were formed that September, just 9 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, from the Observer Group, a joint Army-Marine-Navy unit. Today, Navy SEALs are practically synonymous with special operations. They typically operate in small, highly mobile teams capable of deploying from carriers, submarines, and other warships. But their skills aren't limited to the sea. SEALs are trained to fight in jungles, urban terrain, deserts, mountains, and even Arctic conditions. From the brutal jungles of Vietnam to the scorching deserts of the Middle East, their track record speaks for itself. To join the Navy SEALs, you have to go through BUDS and Hell Week and all of that. You already know it. Let's move on. Everyone knows about the Navy SEALs, but not many people know about the second major component of naval special warfare, the Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewmen, or SWCC, or more commonly called the Navy SWCS. These operators are the Navy's elite boat teams, responsible for operating and maintaining small, high-speed craft that support special operations missions, particularly those involving Navy SEALs. They're often referred to simply as the boat guys. The Navy SWCS undergo a specialized training program focused on advanced boating and weapons tactics, techniques, and procedures designed for clandestine infiltration and exfiltration of SEALs and other special operations forces. They operate state-of-the-art, high-performance vessels in environments where larger ships can't go, like shallow coastal waters, rivers, and littoral zones. Their missions often involve inserting or extracting special operations teams under the cover of darkness. Beyond that, SWICs are also trained in tactical driving, convoy operations, and combat support. But their role isn't limited to combat. SWICs also conduct search and rescue missions, provide humanitarian assistance, support law enforcement agencies, and train partner forces around the world. Now you understand the two core components of naval special warfare, the SEALs and the SWCS. Both are masters in their respective domains of operation. Within naval special warfare, these components are further divided into specialized teams. SEAL teams and special boat teams operate under WARCOM, carrying out missions across the globe. Let's break these teams down more clearly. Under WARCOM, aside from the headquarters and the training center, there are several special warfare groups, each with its own SEAL team specializing in different regions and environments. First, we have Naval Special Warfare Group 1, headquartered in Coronado, California. Under this group are SEAL Team 1. Their area of operations is the Western Pacific. They're trained for jungle, desert, and urban warfare. SEAL Team 3, focused on the Middle East, they specialize in desert and urban combat. SEAL Team 5, responsible for operations in and around Korea, they train for Arctic, desert, and urban environments. SEAL Team 7, like SEAL Team 1, they also operate in the Western Pacific and share the same training focus on jungle, desert, and urban warfare. Next is Naval Special Warfare Group 2, headquartered in Little Creek, Virginia. This group includes SEAL Team 2, covering Northern Europe. SEAL Team 4, responsible for South and Central America. SEAL Team 8 and SEAL Team 10 both operate in the Mediterranean and Southern European regions. All SEAL teams under Group 2 are primarily trained for jungle, desert, and urban combat. In addition to the SEAL teams, both Groups 1 and 2 also have their own training detachments, logistics support units, and tactical communications commands, providing essential support for their operations worldwide. Apart from these active duty SEAL teams, there are also SEAL Team 17 and SEAL Team 18, the reserve component of the Navy SEALs, operating under Naval Special Warfare Group 11. For the Navy SWCS, there are 3 operational units: Special Boat Team 12, operating primarily in the Pacific and the Middle East; Special Boat Team 20, responsible for missions across Europe, the Mediterranean, and also the Middle East; and Special Boat Team 22, authorized for special operations worldwide. All of these teams fall under Naval Special Warfare Group 4, headquartered in Little Creek, Virginia, which also oversees the Naval Small Craft Instruction and Technical Training School. There are also SEAL delivery vehicle teams that use mini-submarines to insert and extract SEALs deep behind enemy lines, completely undetected. Then there are the special reconnaissance teams that focus on intelligence and reconnaissance operations, providing critical information for larger missions. These SEAL delivery vehicle teams and special reconnaissance teams operate under Naval Special Warfare Group 8, which is also headquartered in Little Creek, Virginia. And of course, there's one particular SEAL unit that stands above the rest, the Navy's Tier 1 unit assigned to JSOC. We will talk about them when we look into JSOC. So we've talked about the Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force Special Operations. Now it's time to look at the United States Army. When you have the most powerful army in the world, it only makes sense that you also have some of the best special operations units to go with it. The United States Army Special Operations Command, or USASOC, is the Army's Special Operations Command under SOCOM. It's one of the largest components of America's special operations ecosystem. The first unit we'll look at under Army Special Operations Forces is the legendary 75th Ranger Regiment. The 75th Ranger Regiment, often called the Army Rangers, is the premier light infantry special operations force of the U.S. Army. Their specialty is direct action, striking fast and hitting hard in hostile environments. Being light infantry, they can deploy anywhere in the world on short notice and operate with speed, precision, and overwhelming firepower. Think of them as the hammer of the Army. You won't see them coming, but when they strike, it hits with devastating force. Their roots trace back to World War II, and over the decades, the Rangers have evolved into an elite fighting force whose tactics have shaped modern military operations. Today, the regiment is capable of conducting airfield seizures, direct action raids, special reconnaissance, counterterrorism missions, and other high-stakes special operations. The Ranger Assessment and Selection Program, or RASP, is the training and selection process for the 75th Ranger Regiment, and it's one of the most demanding in the U.S. military. Designed to ensure only the most capable and resilient soldiers join their ranks, RASP pushes candidates to their physical and mental limits while also testing advanced combat skills. This rigorous process guarantees that only those who meet the highest standards of excellence and dedication become Rangers. Today, the 75th Ranger Regiment is composed of 3 infantry battalions: the 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, and 3rd Battalion. Collectively known as the Line Battalions, these units form the backbone of the regiment. They are renowned for their combat skills, versatility, and rapid deployment capabilities. Supporting them is the Regimental Military Intelligence Battalion, RMIB, which provides intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, cyber, and electronic warfare support for the regiment's operations. Then there's the Regimental Special Troops Battalion, RSTB, made up of specialists in various fields who enhance the operational capabilities of the 75th Ranger Regiment. The RSTB is organized into several specialized companies. Ranger Communications Company, RCC, provides command, control, and communications support for combat operations for Special Operations Forces. Ranger Military Intelligence Company, RMIC, conducts all sorts of intelligence operations as well as all-source analysis in support of combat missions for the 75th Ranger Regiment and SOCOM. Ranger Selection and Training Company manages the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. Ranger Reconnaissance Company, RRC, performs reconnaissance globally, supporting the 75th Ranger Regiment and other special operations units. This is also the Tier 1 element of the regiment assigned to JSOC. Together, these battalions and specialized companies make the 75th Ranger Regiment a highly capable, flexible, and formidable force within the U.S. Army's Special Operations community. Under SOCOM, there is the 1st Special Forces Command, a division-level Special Operations Command. This is the home of the Army's Special Forces Groups, Psychological Operations Groups, and the Civil Affairs Brigade. Now, what exactly are the United States Army Special Forces? These are among the most distinguished units in the entire American Special Operations community. But most people know them by a simpler name, the Green Berets, thanks to their iconic headgear. What makes them unique is their deep regional specialization. Special Forces soldiers are not only masters of advanced combat skills, but are also trained in the languages, cultures, and geopolitical nuances of specific parts of the world. While they're best known for unconventional warfare, their mission set is wide and includes direct action, special reconnaissance, counterinsurgency, counterproliferation, foreign internal defense, and peace operations. After the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. wanted to topple the Taliban regime. Instead of launching a massive ground invasion right away, Green Berets were deployed in small teams in 2001. They infiltrated northern Afghanistan and linked up with the Northern Alliance, an anti-Taliban coalition of warlords. They trained these forces, advised and coordinated their movements, and directed airstrikes on Taliban positions. With their support, the Taliban regime collapsed in a matter of weeks. But that wasn't the end of the story. The Taliban's leadership, fighters, and networks were never fully destroyed. The new Afghan government was weak, corrupt, and heavily dependent on foreign support, something the Taliban exploited to slowly rebuild their power. What began as a swift operation evolved into the long and complex Afghanistan war that we know today. We'll save that story for another time. Anyway, back to the topic. One of the primary missions of the Army Special Forces is to create, train, and lead unconventional warfare forces in foreign lands, as well as conduct all sorts of special operations in that region, quietly, effectively, and often without drawing attention. To do this, Green Berets learn the languages and cultures of the areas they operate in, allowing them to blend in and work for extended periods. You can think of them as warrior scholars, highly skilled in both combat and diplomacy. Remember the geographic commands I mentioned earlier? Each Green Beret unit operates under one of those commands. Their regional focus allows them to build deep expertise in the languages, customs, and political dynamics of those areas. These units and their respective geographic commands are: First, Special Forces Group, United States Indo-Pacific Command. Third Special Forces Group, United States Africa Command, 5th Special Forces Group, United States Central Command. 7th Special Forces Group, United States Southern Command. 10th Special Forces Group, United States European Command. There are also 2 Army National Guard Reserve units, 19th Special Forces Group, Indo-Pacific Command and Central Command. 20th Special Forces Group, Southern Command. Again, let me clarify. Special Forces Groups are not specifically under those geographic combatant commands. They fall under United States Special Operations Command. However, their primary areas of responsibility align with the regions of those commands. That said, these units can be deployed anywhere in the world, as they were extensively during the War on Terror in the Middle East. The Green Berets trace their roots to the U.S. Army's pioneers in unconventional warfare, specifically the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, which laid the groundwork for modern U.S. unconventional warfare doctrine. In 1952, the 10th Special Forces Group was formed, setting the stage for the creation of today's special forces and their organizational structure. Within a Special Forces Group, there are C teams, B teams, and A teams. The C team serves as the headquarters element of an SF battalion, handling command, control, and logistics. The B team supports the company's A teams in garrison and during field operations. The A teams, also known as Operational Detachment Alphas, ODAs, are the operational heart of the Special Forces. Each ODA consists of 12 highly trained members, each with a specialized role. What sets Special Forces apart from other U.S. Special Operations units is their mastery of unconventional warfare and foreign internal defense. They are often among the first U.S. units deployed to a foreign country to quietly build relationships with local populations. Entry into Special Forces begins with the Special Forces Qualification Course, or Q course, a multi-phase program designed to prepare candidates for their roles. The course length varies depending on the applicant's job specialty and foreign language training. Graduates of the Q course become eligible for advanced courses, preparing them to operate as full-fledged Special Forces operators. Now, apart from the Special Forces under the 1st Special Forces Command, there are also other units that don't necessarily fight on the front lines, but their job is just as important to the bigger picture of special operations. These are the Psychological Operations Groups and the Civil Affairs Units. Let's start with the Psychological Operations Groups, or PSYOP. Their name pretty much gives away what they do. These guys are masters of psychological warfare. Their mission is to deliver carefully crafted messages and information to influence the thoughts, emotions, and behavior of foreign governments, organizations, or even entire populations. The whole point of U.S. psychological operations is to persuade, influence, and reinforce behaviors that support America's goals. Their missions can include information warfare, deception tactics, advising foreign governments, and providing communication support to American forces in the field. Their motto, Persuade, Change, Influence, says it all. The 4th Psychological Operations Group is made up of several battalions, the 1st, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, each one focusing on a specific region of the world, kind of like how the Green Berets operate. Then there's the 8th Psychological Operations Group, which runs 2 main battalions, the 3rd PSYOP Battalion, which supports other PSYOP and special operations units around the globe, and the 9th PSYOP Battalion, which focuses on tactical level operations, helping ground commanders plan and carry out important missions right where it matters most. Now, let's talk about civil affairs. The 95th Civil Affairs Brigade is the U.S. Army Special Operations Civil Affairs Unit, operating under the 1st Special Forces Command. Its roots trace back to the military government groups that operated after World War II, but the brigade itself wasn't officially activated until 2006 and became fully operational the following year in 2007. Its creation was part of a broader U.S. Army initiative to expand and modernize civil affairs capabilities. Civil affairs units act as a vital bridge between military forces and civilian authorities in foreign nations. They play a key role in stabilizing regions, supporting peacekeeping missions, and helping restore governance in post-conflict environments. Trained in foreign languages, cultural awareness, diplomacy, and negotiation techniques, civil affairs soldiers can operate in politically or diplomatically sensitive areas around the world, building relationships, establishing networks, and supporting local populations while advancing U.S. objectives. Under the 95th Civil Affairs Brigade, there are several regionally aligned battalions. The 91st Civil Affairs Battalion aligned with U.S. Africa Command, the 92nd Civil Affairs Battalion aligned with U.S. European Command, the 96th Civil Affairs Battalion aligned with U.S. Central Command, the 97th Civil Affairs Battalion aligned with U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, and the 98th Civil Affairs Battalion aligned with U.S. Southern Command. Each civil affairs soldier is highly trained, culturally adaptable, and linguistically capable, often serving as the military's diplomats on the ground. It's worth noting, though, that not all civil affairs units are special operations. The active duty civil affairs forces, which make up roughly 10% of all civil affairs personnel, are the ones that fall under special operations. The rest belong to the Army Reserve, focusing on broader, non-SOF missions. Aside from the special forces, psychological operations, and civil affairs units, the 1st Special Forces Command also includes a vital support element, the 528th Sustainment Brigade. The 528th Sustainment Brigade, Special Operations, Airborne, is responsible for providing logistical, medical, signal, and intelligence support to Army Special Operations Forces and joint elements across the globe. It replaced the former Special Operations Support Command as the primary combat service and combat health support unit for all U.S. Army Special Operations Command elements under the 1st Special Forces Command. Within the brigade are several key battalions, each with a specialized role. The Special Troops Battalion, formerly known as the 528th Support Battalion, provides rapidly deployable combat service and health support to special operations units. They ensure that frontline operators have the resources, medical aid, and logistics they need to sustain missions anywhere in the world. The 112th Special Operations Signal Battalion is the Army's only airborne Special Operations Signal unit. They specialize in advanced communications and cutting-edge telecommunications technologies, ensuring secure, real-time communication for both Army and Joint Special Operations Forces, even in the most remote and hostile environments. The 389th Military Intelligence Battalion, originally the 1st Special Forces Command Military Intelligence Battalion, conducts multidisciplinary intelligence operations. They provide analytical and technical intelligence support to special operations units. In addition, support operations elements from the 528th are embedded in each regional theater to coordinate with Theater Army Commands, SOCOM, and ASOC. Their job is to ensure that logistical and operational support flows seamlessly during both training and real-world operations. Now, we're almost done with the Army, but not quite yet. There's still one more unit to talk about. This unit plays a vital role not only in Army Special Operations, but also in Tier 1 operations under JSOC. Interestingly, it isn't officially assigned to JSOC, yet it remains one of the most respected and indispensable elements in the entire special operations community. But before we get to that, we need to understand another key command within the Army's Special Operations structure, the U.S. Army Special Operations Aviation Command. This command oversees all of the Army's Special Operations aviation assets, ensuring they are trained, equipped, and ready for any mission around the world. This command includes several important components. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command Flight Company, which provides fixed and rotary wing training and transport support for Army Special Operations. The Special Operations Aviation Training Battalion, responsible for training and educating aircrew members and support personnel, from basic aviation skills to advanced operational qualifications, to serve in the Army's premier aviation unit. Then there are the Technology Applications Program Office, TAPO, and Systems Integration Management Office, SIMO, which handle cutting-edge equipment, systems, and technology development for special operations aviation. So, what is the primary special operations aviation unit they all support? Introducing the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment Airborne, or 160th SOAR, better known by their legendary nickname, the Night Stalkers. The 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or the Night Stalkers, is the U.S. Army's premier aviation unit for special operations. They provide helicopter support for a wide range of missions, including transport, precision attacks on enemy targets, fire support, and reconnaissance operations for the Special Operation Units, including those under JSOC. But they are called the Night Stalkers for a reason. This unit has mastered the art of operating in darkness. They pioneered the U.S. Army's night flying techniques and are renowned for their ability to execute complex missions under the cover of night with unmatched precision and stealth. The regiment consists of 4 battalions, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, along with their regimental headquarters and headquarters company. The Night Stalkers operate a range of specially modified aircraft, such as Chinooks, Black Hawks, Little Birds, and Gray Eagle drones. These aviators are among the most skilled in the world. Every member of the Night Stalkers is handpicked, rigorously trained, and mentally hardened to handle the toughest missions in any environment, day or night, anywhere on the planet. Their legacy speaks for itself. One of their most famous operations was the 2011 raid on Osama bin Laden's compound, carried out alongside SEAL Team 6. Flying modified stealth Black Hawks deep into Pakistan in total darkness, the Night Stalkers delivered the SEALs directly to their target, cementing their place in history as one of the most capable aviation units ever assembled. Beyond all these branches of the U.S. military, there's also the United States Space Force, the newest addition to America's armed forces. According to multiple sources, the Space Force is reportedly working to establish its own Special Operations Command, set to become the newest component within SOCOM. However, unlike traditional special operations units that engage directly in combat, the Space Force's Special Operations component will likely play a supporting role, providing radar, satellite, and digital intelligence capabilities to enhance SOCOM missions around the world. If you had little or no knowledge about the United States Special Operations Units before, I hope now you do. But are we done? Absolutely not. Under SOCOM, there's another command, the Joint Special Operations Command, or simply JSOC. This is the organization behind some of the most high-risk and classified missions the public rarely ever hears about. JSOC has its own units drawn from across the U.S. military, and these units are considered the Tier 1 elements of America's special operations community. Unfortunately, we won't be diving into those units in this video. And yes, I did say at the beginning that I'd cover everything here, but let's be honest, we've all seen enough YouTube clickbait to know how that goes. Jokes aside, I genuinely wanted to fit everything into one video, but at some point I realized it would just get way too long. So there will be a part 2 coming soon. If you've watched all the way to this point, thank you. But I do have to ask you to please consider subscribing to my channel. We are really close to hitting the 10,000 subscribers mark, and it would be really great if we do that before the year ends. Also, I don't want to pry, but if you'd like to support my work further, I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider donating. It helps me keep making more videos and improving the quality along the way. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you in part 2.